Chapter 20. Super Protective, Chloe Garfinkel. Hypothesis. Principals would do anything for publicity. With the governor's visit drawing close, the super kid's name was on everybody's lips. Channel 4 News had decided to cover the assembly live in the Russ Trussman Hour. Russ had come to the academy to interview the robotics team about Noah before the big event. What a joke. I seemed to be the only person in Hardcastle, kid or adult, who could see that Noah was taking credit for something that had happened without any help from him or anybody else. I couldn't even get my own parents to believe that the propane truck must have hit a bump and changed direction on its own, missing the house entirely. Everyone wanted a hero, and Noah was the guy. Worse, my dad actually accused me of being jealous. Hypothesis. There are a million reasons to be jealous of one of the greatest minds on the planet. This isn't one of them. To top it all, we were still having trouble with heavy metal, and Oz did not want to let a reporter into the lab. The last thing we needed was for rumors to get out that our award-winning robotics team was cooking up for a dud for the governor. So we got called into the library one by one for the interviews. In all the years you've been in the gifted program together, Mr. Trussman asked me, has Noah ever struck you as being particularly athletic? I laughed out loud. Noah? There were so many words that could be applied to Noah. Brilliant, innovative, particular, nerdy, awkward, scrawny, athletic? Never. The window of the propane tank measures 36 inches wide, 24 inches high, and 5 feet off the ground. To dive through an opening of that size, one that's moving, requires a perfect combination of strength, agility, and timing. You've known Noah for some time. I'm just trying to get a sense of how remarkable ability evolved. That's when it hit me. I usually caught on much quicker than this. Hypothesis. Russ Trussman isn't profiling Noah. He's trying to prove he's a phony. My first reaction was, finally, someone else with the brains to see through this sham. But almost immediately after that, I thought about Noah. This wouldn't be a vague rumor spreading around town that the super kid wasn't quite on level. This would be a news story on Channel 4 telling everybody that their hero was a fraud. He would be branded a con artist, a liar, and a joke. And his biggest fans would become his worst enemies of all because he would have made them look so stupid. Well, tough. Hypothesis. Noah, of all people, should be smart enough to know that he can't get away with this. In spite of that, I felt my lower jaw tightening with determination. It was nothing against Russ Trussman. He was only doing his job. But was I going to help him ruin Noah's life? Not a chance. I looked at Mr. Trussman straight in the eyes. It's amazing what some people can do in a crisis. He asked a few more leading questions, but I mumbled up only yes or no answers. Eventually, he gave up and cut me loose. I returned to the lab, and JC headed to the library to face the reporter. I wasn't sure how I felt about what I'd just done. On the other hand, I just protected someone I was pretty sure was duping the whole community. On the other, hypothesis, you don't sell out your friends. Back in class, Oz had taken over the controls from Donovan and was trying to get the robot to behave. Sometimes it executed commands perfectly, but every now and then it was almost as if Heavy Metal had a mind of his own. He'd stop when he's supposed to go. He'd turn left when the joystick moved right. Despite all our brain power, we couldn't figure out if it was a software problem, a hardware problem, or even an issue with the wireless hub that interpreted signals from the controller. We just didn't know, and it was driving us nuts. And the rest of us were frustrated. Abigail was losing her mind. After Noah, she was the smartest on the team. Knowing was ultra important to her, so this was more than just a setback. It was an identity crisis. Plus, the governor's visit was barely a week away. Whenever she was, she needed it to be solved yesterday. It's Noah's fault, she complained. We're going to look like clowns in front of the governor, thanks to him. I regarded Noah, who was at a computer scanning through endless lines of software code. Come on, Abigail, why blame Noah? He's just as stumped as any of us. That's not the real Noah, she said bitterly. He'd solve this in a heartbeat. That's the super kid, and he's too distracted by his own press. You know as much about heavy metal as he does, I reminded her. Why don't you fix it? Dream on, she sighed wanly. As much as I hate to admit, this problem calls for a super mind, not a super kid. And right when we need him most, he's lost planning his next big interview. She probably had a point. I couldn't help shooting a stink eye in Noah's direction for his own role in the hoax. The sooner it ended, the better. I stepped away from Abigail and came up behind Noah, pretending to be studying the screen over his shoulder. Russ Trussman is on to you, I whispered in his ear. He knows you're not the super kid. He nearly broke his neck searching the lab for Donovan. Donovan, who'd been crazy enough to tell me he was a super kid. Did Donovan put you up to this? I probed. He actually tried to get up and walk away from me. I grabbed him by the skinny shoulders and plopped him back in the chair. Noah, I'm trying to help. You could get in big trouble. Donovan was heading our way, a concerned expression on his face. I spoke quickly. At this point, it's too late to confess. But after the governor's visit, you've got to stop playing hero and hope this dies out. And whatever you do, watch yourself around that guy Trussman. Donovan arrived in time to hear the last part. What about Trussman? This isn't a game anymore, I hissed. Trussman smells a rat, and I was interrupted by a high-pitched whirling that filled the lab. At the top of Heavy Metal's stainless steel body, a door slid open. We saw the propeller first as the miniature drone rose out of our robot and hovered there over our heads. And all eyes turned to Oz, who had the joystick in his hands. He shook his head. I didn't do anything. It just happened. Everybody on the team understood what that meant. If the robot could deploy its droid with no command from any operator, then Heavy Metal was completely out of control. We just stood there, staring up at our runway drone. If it won't respond to the joystick, mused Noah, how are we going to get it down? Nobody had an answer for that. Nobody except Donovan. He snatched Oz's jacket from its wall peg, jumped up on the teacher's desk, and launched himself into the air. He captured the little craft inside the folds of his blazer, fell on the floor, and handed the coat, drone and all, to Oz. It got a round of applause from the robotics team. That had always been the thing about Donovan. Hypothesis, if it can take someone ordinary to perform the extraordinary.